There's one that should be there in just a second. Yep.
That's a big brown bro.
He ate all right. All right, you can probably see the two dries dangling in the breeze there. Those are both on tags, spread out about 4 or 5 feet. And then the fish is on the point, which is also a dry, just fishing a 3-fly rig. In Utah, we're allowed to do that. In some places, it's 1 or 2 flies, of course, but where you can, you want to try and maximize your coverage. Fishing 3 flies spread out quite a ways just covers more surface area of the lake, which gets us more eats at the end of the day. That one ate the bionic ant. Beautiful cutty. Adios. Flies are down there. It's going nice and slow. Now we're almost out of real estate again. I'm going to transition to the hang. So this is a change of direction. My fly's been moving horizontal. Now I'm going to reach out and lift up a little, trying to watch that little belly of line still to register a strike, like that, on the hang. Just the change of direction caused that fish to eat. Probably was following my flies for a little ways, but right there at the very end, the direction change is what caused it to take my fly. Cutty on the blank saver and the old trusty S2 net. Not the biggest fish of the day, but a fish, and it ate on the hang. Something you definitely want to focus on. Some days the hang is the ticket. It's the best thing going, and some days they couldn't care any less about it. But that one ate my point fly on the hang. Again, you're retrieving. When you get to the very end of the retrieve, you're running out of line. Instead of just ripping your flies out of the water, lift your rod up and just kind of hold it there for a second. Jig them a little more, hold it, jig them a little more, maybe take up a little bit of slack, and just feel or watch for that little belly in the leader to all of a sudden go tight to let you know you got a fish eating your fly while you're hanging there at the very end of a retrieve. All right, I just sent a cast out. And for today's skill builder, one of our skill builders is to watch the swing tip for takes. So the swing tip is what we call the line extending from the rod tip down to the water. So it's the fly line I'm watching here, and I want to keep it relatively close to the water, the rod tip that is. And as I move these flies, every time I strip, you can see that little swing tip raise a little bit, and then it drops. The line has just enough weight, just enough sag to kind of droop a little bit. And I'm basically using that little bit of droop as kind of like a strike indicator. So you don't really want to have your rod tip any higher off the water than maybe 12 or 14 inches. And ideally, it's more like 6 inches, 8 inches, somewhere in there off the surface of the water. And I'm just watching it all the time. Every time I give those flies a little bump, I know I'm making that motion, so I'm nothing to see there. That's me. Here's me again. But if it raises or jumps or does anything that is not caused by me moving the line, then I've got tension on the other end, and I know I have a fish or my flies are on the bottom, so I can kind of tell a bunch of things from that. Hopefully on one of these casts it's going to lift up and tighten, and then I'll be smart enough to strip set, I hope, and not rod set, and get a fish on the end of the line. We're on a boat today, but keep in mind this works whether you're on a boat, you're on a float tube, you're fishing from shore. This technique is the same regardless. Let's throw another one to this bank. Kind of fish that drop off. Try and stay out of the bushes right on the edge. Otherwise, just keeping contact, moving that fly along till it does that. Nice little lift of that swing tip, and we're into a rainbow, I think. Rainbow on the blank saver. Rainbow by reading the swing tip. It's a pretty cool way to keep in contact with your flies. It works really well for light takes. It's really effective, especially in calm conditions. But it works if you even have a pretty light chop. If you're in really roily waves, maybe not the best technique. But keep in contact, try to learn to read that swing tip and catch a few fish.